Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? Tell me a little bit about what it was like for you, not only necessarily growing up, but just learning, developing, understanding, making mistakes, facing failures. And ultimately, what I think you laid a beautiful track on is making choices. Talk to us about your journey.
Yeah, if I back all the way up to growing up, I'm the son of a soldier and a stay-at-home mom. And while we didn't have everything, we had a lot, man. I don't have the struggle and strife story and the trauma that a lot of people have because my upbringing was very, I'll call it sheltered. My dad, like my complaint is my dad jumped out of airplanes for extra $200 a month so that he could help me get the cleats or we could go out to dinner. Right. That's my complaint. My dad would stay at work late or go super early so that he could go make that extra money so we could do the thing. And the backside of that for me as an adult was seeing the arthritis that came from putting that type of stress on his body and seeing my hero, somebody who I thought was Superman, a guy who could jump out of an airplane, go to someone who was very uncomfortable moving from a sitting position to a standing position and deciding not to sit down because it was going to be so painful to get back up whenever he decided that he wanted to move from that place. I played sports. I played football through college. Had two full scholarships when I went to university, and it wasn't because I knew what I was doing. It was because my mom was there to pay attention to me and make sure that I submitted the applications and that I was doing the studies that I was supposed to be doing. Got the engineering degree, man, and I had a choice. Was it, do you go do your PhD or do you start working? And what I realized is, man, I wanted to make money. I wanted to start earning. And so I jumped into corporate and started on that progression that ended with kind of the end of the story that we gave the listeners in the beginning. But for me, like I learned so many lessons from sports. That's where, outside of the example and the role model that I had in my father, that's where I learned about leadership and being somebody of character and integrity and knowing what happens when you don't fulfill your commitments. And it's funny, I say all of that and now when I think about sports, I go to this place where I'm in the 8th grade and I promised a teammate of mine that we were going to go to a football game that Friday night, high school football game. We are getting ready to go to the high school, so it was a big deal to go to the high school football game on a Friday night. And I didn't call that guy, and he got into some alcohol that evening, and he found a gun, and they played Russian roulette that night, and he lost. And so I get the phone call the next day that says, "Hey, he's gone." And I'm like, "What do you mean he's gone? He's dead. Like, he's not here anymore." And I have to live with the fact that I didn't make that phone call to let him know that we were leaving so that we could pick him up to take him to the game with us. And maybe, just maybe, he'd still be walking this earth had I done my part and kept my word to a person who I appreciated because we went to school together from elementary school all the way through that point of life. I carry that burden, man. Your word means everything. It really does. And right or wrong, people die, at least in my world, if you don't keep your word.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. And I actually resonate with that a ton. As the Unbroken Nation audience knows, my three childhood best friends were murdered.
Mhm.
And no bullshit. The only reason I'm here right now is because I said I didn't follow through on those promises to show up or do the thing. And that's this really odd, strange juxtaposition of the world and the choices and decisions that we make. But as I've gotten older, think about the idea of what if I would have said yes? What if I would have been in that situation with them? Maybe I wouldn't be here. And it's those burdens. Like I try to think about them like bricks in a backpack. And if I can let them go, not that they don't carry weight, but if I can just sit them down and just keep moving through life, there's this tremendous weight that is relieved from us when you're in this journey. And I think you pointed to something that for me holds so incredibly true. That's so profound that I do not think people really understand is the power of keeping your word. I had a moment in my life where I had to recognize that I could not negotiate with myself any longer because I was not keeping my word. I was not being a man of character. And for me, that was both inspiring and like earth shattering at the same time because, oh shit, I don't know how to do this. And one of the things that I've seen in my life now, being a coach and being someone who speaks on stages and leadership and having teams and things like this, is there's always that person that we see where it's, man, if you just listen to this one thing that I'm telling you, everything about everything for you could be different. And so, what I'm curious about in this moment is, Jerome, as you're with people, as you're teaching people about leadership, as you're coaching people and talking to these businesses, what is it that you think is, for lack of a better term, the chasm? What is that gap that people must cross in order to step into what's next into their life?
Being honest with themselves. So many people romanticize their current situation. They believe that their future is happening right now, even though they haven't done the things they need to do in order to have what they want. So many people believe that they're great just because they show up, but that's not true. You're not your best self right now. And if you don't have something that you want, it's because you haven't become the person that does the things to have that thing. And people get really upset when that starts to sink in because they know it's true. And if you've got this thing in your world that you desire and you won't tell anybody about it, it's because you're scared that they're going to say to you how you're going to do that. You don't do the stuff that's necessary in order for you to have that. But the moment that you get bold and you're willing to say, hey, this is what I do, this is who I am, and this is what I want, and then your actions line up with that so that you're in coherence, that's when life starts to change.